Hello everyone, we hope you've all been well. We are finally back with another instalment of our Ambrosia series. Because it's been a long while, and if you are new here, this series is a chatty presentation of all the things that nourished us, inspired us, or any form of media that devoured our hearts. A cornucopia of thoughts or recommendations of anything and everything. This time we are doing it strictly in the form of a media scrapbook of sorts, mainly a record of what we've been watching, listening to and reading over the past few months. As always, we find ourselves mostly drawn to the gothic, the folkloric, the vampiric and the esoteric. So let's get into the collection. Lisa's newsletter dwells in the space where beauty, desire and the body intertwine. You will find personal poems, labyrinthine media trails and curated imagery, alongside an exploration on the morbid eroticism in David Cronenberg's work, and essays on horror films like Crimson Peak and Possession, such a poetically beautiful newsletter. Reveries in the Warren is a newsletter that feels like a noctuary, an exploration of the Gothic, Romanticism and folklore through hauntingly beautiful writing, alongside video game analysis, book reviews, creative works and curated recommendations. The Philosophy of Eternal Hunger is an amazing essay by Delay exploring the philosophy of vampires, highlighting the puzzle they present as figures that resist easy interpretation. We've always especially loved the observation that they serve less as foreign beings and more as a reflection of human nature. Lunalay is one of our favourite substacks we frequent, an enchanting gallery of diaristic web weaving, poetry and research. The most recent article, Writing as Stigmata, absolutely enthralled us. Anna explores writing as a practice of wound making, referencing Christian tradition and alien sixus, while also touching on female abjection. If you're wanting a thoughtfully compiled analysis on the Gothic, then head on over to The Culture Dump by Dr. Rebecca Marks, a fascinating read about how it came to be. No surprise here, we had to mention something doppelganger related, being twins ourselves. The Poison Path has a 2-part article titled Twin, Where Have You Been? That explores the idea in depth, tracing the figure's existence from pre-Islamic Arabian folklore and Norse mythology to more grounded accounts from authors who claim to have encountered their double. It was a fun reminder for us on just how eerie and kind of magical it is to have a double. Often when we watch a film or read a book, we can't help but imagine the perfumes that might bring its scenes to life. Lilith Gore's article is a bewitching vessel of inspiration for anyone wanting to smell like Robert Eggers' Nosferatu. The title of this article, Choke on the Roses, immediately piqued our curiosity. Drawing on Emily Dickinson's line, I like a look of agony because I know it's true, McKaylee explores the perfume Jezebel by Uncle Kush in all its gothic rose-filled intensity. This article by Lizzie Bickerstaff dissecting the folklore horror threads in Everybody's Scream by Florence and the Machine was such a treat to read. From the concept of keening and the monstrosity of ambition to the blend of ancient motifs and history with the modern, it's a perfect reminder of why we absolutely adore this album. Also, we should mention that Lizzie is a folklorist, so there's plenty more articles to peruse. These 2 poems by Ian Belladonna are richly ornamental and sensorial, weaving texture and contradiction into a surreal Gothic style that feels both lyrical and introspectively intimate. This insightful and wonderfully written article by surrealist Covens explores the connections between Gothic literature and surrealism, linking motifs such as the castle, the vampire, the nocturnal dreamscape and more. We highly recommend checking out more from this publication too. Digital Asclepion by Somniac is such an engrossing and atmospheric newsletter. It moves fluidly from reflections on radio as a Gothic technology with its strange alchemy of presence and absence, to accounts of tarot readings and seances, and to meditations on psychic fragmentation, the romantic imagination, and divination in ancient Rome. The publication feels like an extended seance of its own. Though we've been reading new novels over the past few months, we've also revisited old favourites of ours, a lot of which you most likely will know. One of the many beauties of art lies in its inexhaustibility. The words don't grow stagnant. Instead, they continue to inspire us in our own creativity. Our books are often filled with annotations or highlighted excerpts, and we think this pile for now would be our answer to the question, if you were a teacher, what books would you make required reading? So far out of the classic novels we have read, no other has yet to top Rebecca for us. There's something hypnotic about the way Daphne du Maurier draws you in through the atmosphere, in particular with the estate Manderley, a character very much in its own right, with all its suffocating memories and secrets. We think what makes the novel so enduring is how it resists easy answers. It plays with your sympathies and challenges your assumptions. It's such a wonderfully written psychological Gothic tale of identity, jealousy, memory, class, and power. Carmilla by Joseph Sheridan Le Fanu is another great read, though a shorter one, if you want to immerse yourself in more Gothic storytelling. Its brooding atmosphere, sapphic themes, and use of the vampire figure to explore desire and fear make it a Gothic feast. In The Bloody Chamber and other stories, Angela Carter subverts traditional fairy tales, transforming the familiar into raw, Gothic, and sensual stories. The prose feels reminiscent of a Baroque painting, incredibly lush and ornate, and the heroines are no longer passive figures but complex, desiring individuals who confront power, violence, and transformation. All the stories feel both timeless and unsettlingly modern. Frankenstein by Mary Shelley always reminds us why the 19th century is one of the most superior eras of writing. Such poignant and romantic words mark the pages, which feels rare to find today. It transcends its genre in that it raises profound ethical questions concerning technology and scientific ambition. It also touches on familiar themes of morality, isolation, and the alienation of the other. The responsibility of being a creator is of course a major theme too, particularly the parental abandonment of one's creation. If companionship is withheld, an inevitable trail of misery and even violence ensues. The novel is written in an epistolary style, building psychological depth the more you read. The tale is rife with such nuance, pierced with sadness and horror. Trying to pick one novel from Clarice Lispector, one of our favourite writers, was a daunting task, but we ultimately settled on Agua Viva. When first reading it, we remember being captivated with its hypnotically abstract nature. It feels mystical and witch-like, as it moves like a stream of consciousness befitting to its title. Rather than following conventional novel form, it unfolds like a buoyant monologue, oscillating between reality and unreality while meditating on the present, time, life, and art. Her writing often moves in the immediacy of eternal sensation, distilling something either chaotic or complex into prose that feels fragrant. Although we tend to prefer physical media, we've been reading a lot online that we don't have physical copies of, a lot of which has been saved in our folders for months, but we only recently got around to finally reading them. Late Victorian Gothic Tales, edited by Roger Luckhurst, brings together 12 Gothic stories from the 1890s, offering a varied glimpse into the iconic genre. In particular, Luckhurst's introduction we thought was really insightful, framing the Gothic as something that resurfaces at key historical moments and invites readers to consider why. In terms of the stories themselves, some stand out while others are less memorable, but overall as a collection it works well, as an accessible introduction to late Victorian Gothic fiction. Diadem, Selected Poems by my Rosa Di Giorgio, is a collection of surreal prose poetry, often set in a surrealist Gothic version of her childhood home in Salto, Uruguay, where there are constellations in the garden and the moon perched with its marble feathers becomes the only place where one wants to live. The beautiful blending of the sacred and the grotesque makes for a visceral reading experience, as the poems unfold like spells, building a personal mythology. Essence and Alchemy leans into the technical craft of perfumery, yet it is ultimately a sensory and philosophical exploration. Mandy Afdel revitalizes the art of natural perfumery and weaves it with the ancient practice of alchemy, resulting in a beautiful meditation on transformation. We really enjoyed reading this as we have a lot of love for perfume.
Ayami Kojima blends romanticism with horror in a truly superb way. We've been enamoured with her work for a while, and this art book beautifully showcases her signature gothic elegance.
We have a few go-to platforms for satisfying our appetite for essays and explorations, but the public domain reviews somehow escaped us for a while. Now that we've explored the site, we've found a lot of fascinating essays. To name just a few: Worlds Without End, Roma Lista, Aradia and the Speculative Origins of a Witchcraft Revival, and Watching the World in a Dark Room, the Early Modern Camera Obscura, each with intriguing details and accompanying images. We also want to mention some additional essays/explorations we love that are not from the public domain review. The colour red permeates vampire lore and the Gothic unlike any other. In Incarnadine, the bloody red of fashionable cosmetics and Shakespearean poetics, Katie Callagher explores the shade's historical roots and its presence across culture and the arts. We love reading explorations that focus on just one specific thing. It's fascinating how much symbolism and history can be embedded within it. The Paris Review also has a whole archive of similar articles titled Hugh's Hugh, if you want to read more. The Gothic, vampires and folklore all hover between beauty and ugliness, so when we came across this series also by Katie Callagher, which explores the darker underworld of the beautiful objects we have in our homes or what we adorn ourselves with, it immediately caught our attention. The series includes perfume, mirrors, lockets, orchids, pearls and angora. In Rusalki Anthropology of Time, Death and Sexuality in Slavic Folklore, Jiří Dinda presents Rusalki as figures that resist simple interpretation, shaped by complex beliefs about death, sexuality and transformation. Rather than fitting into clear categories, Rusalki emerge as profoundly liminal beings, tied to cycles of renewal and all the spaces between. The paper also highlights how folklore is quite unstable, never reducible to an original form. Rather, it constantly evolves through cultural memory. The aesthetics of the tangible, haptic motifs and sensory contagion in Gothic terror films by Joanna Rita Ramalho explores how the sense of touch shapes the emotional and psychological impact of Gothic terror films. Drawing on theories of tactile space and sensory memory, the essay argues that Gothic cinema creates a world where vision can feel like touch, and that the Gothic spaces and those that dwell in them are deeply interconnected. Through analysing several black and white films, the essay shows how non-graphic techniques such as gestures, textures, and the motif of hands often generate feelings of unease and blur the line between the self and the unfamiliar, demonstrating how brilliantly Gothic terror relies far less on visual shock and more on sensory experience.
It would be remiss of us not to mention some poetry, as being on Tumblr in particular often exposes us to writers shared by others, leading us to explore them further. Shortly we will read some of our favourite excerpts, but if we had to name the main love we keep returning to currently, it would be Delmira Agostini. Her writing evokes for us such a sanguineous form of sensuality, rich with passion and intense symbolism. Eyes that sear when they shine, they are caresses, sorrow, constellations, hell. Marvellous nest of vertigo, your mouth, 2 petals of rose closing an abyss, and I fall endlessly into the bloody abyss. Hands filled with the bloom of desire, hands in which one feels a dagger never seen, hands in which one can see an intangible sceptre. And the 1,000 mouths of my accursed thirst, I lay in that open well of your brokenness. Why was I the vampire of your sorrow?
The loneliness one dare not sound, and would as soon surmise as in its grave go plumbing to ascertain the size. The loneliness whose worst alarm is lest itself should see, and perish from before itself for just a scrutiny. The horror not to be surveyed, but skirted in the dark, with consciousness suspended and being under lock. I fear me this is loneliness, the maker of the soul, its caverns and its corridors illuminate or seal. The night is darkening round me, The wild winds coldly blow, but a tyrant spell has bound me, and I cannot go. The giant trees are bending, their bare boughs weighed with snow. The storm is fast descending, and yet I cannot go. Clouds beyond clouds above me, wastes beyond wastes below me, but nothing drear can move me. I will not, cannot go. Madness looks riveting on her gothic silhouette. My heaven is gothic and on fire. Morbid or petulant, I thrill before you. Be what you will, black night or crimson dawn, no fibre of my body tauntly drawn, but cries, beloved, I adore you. Long dark hair floating like wings above her shoulder. In his dream, she was always a blackbird. Midnight's breath, a sorrowful allure. Your eyes, eyes with teeth, terrible as obsidian, the days to come in those eyes, the days gone by, and beneath that fierceness something ancient and tender as rain. You come to me from mountains bathed by powerful, musky angels, through the scarred throat of fog and archways drizzled with twilight. I love the dark hours of my being, my mind deepens into them. Nocturnal butterflies, the skull emits a sharp sound like a scream, wings open to moon. The sea seems bound to the deep abyss, crucified, staring at the high heavens, about to escape, violent, bellowing, nailed to its black bed. The solemn witchery painted in your mystic eyes. Sorrow perfumes the air. It is night, inside and out. The moon leaks red across the sky. It has cracked. Its fracture, a doorway. There is no way to know what's within, be it secrets or hyacinth, or a room so filled with lit candles there is nowhere to step without danger. Only a crossing is possible, only a change is waiting. Love is flesh, it is a flower flooded with blood. I am the hidden room within, the humming, hovering mysteries, the moon-wreathed, mirror-clawed mysteries. You are the mystic, and ancient things reveal your blood to you. She was tied to the moon by long threads of red tangled blood. She moved like a woman tied to the moon. It enveloped her and it opened her to an absolute night without dawn. She glows. Her heavy strands of black hair slide like serpents over sombre, blood-red plush. She stands there as a rose within the night, the dark red rose so deep within the night. Crimson red flowers, the colour of a flaming garden, the colour of poison, of blood, and of the black night.
Beloved YouTube, a goldmine for discovering brilliant explorations if you know where to look. Many of our evenings are consumed by long-form videos. There's something deeply satisfying about finding ones we can truly sink our teeth into. The following aren't really recent watches, more like a compilation of our go-to channels, and a few standout videos that we recommend you check out if you haven't. Gutenberg Bible is a thoughtful, slow-paced channel that explores classic literature and ideas with a meditative tone, perfect for people who enjoy deep dives over quick takes. Also, we really enjoy the Write With Me vlogs she does, it's very calming. Close Reading Poetry by Adam Walker offers academic-style readings of poems, showing how close attention to language, form, and the sound can reveal deeper meaning. We especially appreciate this depth and the focus on engaging fully with a poem and the writer to catch details you might otherwise overlook. Esoterica is an educational channel hosted by Dr. Justin Sledge that explores the history and philosophy of occult and esoteric traditions, including alchemy, mysticism, and ancient religious beliefs. We really love how he makes complex and often misunderstood subjects accessible without oversimplifying them. It's truly such a valuable and engaging channel. Lady of the Library is a channel that blends literature, philosophy, and history into reflective essay-style videos. We love how the channel explores classical texts, myth, or folklore while making it relevant for today. Instead of just summarising, the videos explore why these ideas matter and how they connect to struggles like burnout, identity, or self-growth. Eternalized is a channel focused on philosophical and psychological topics, often drawing from the work of people like Carl Jung. Like the other channels we have mentioned, the videos are slow-paced and reflective, exploring themes such as meaning, suffering, and self-discovery. We love the calm narration and thought-provoking insights. Girl on Film is a channel that dives into horror, fantasy, and folklore cinema from a female perspective. The videos are very well researched, but still easy to follow, often exploring topics like women in horror, costume design, and genre conventions. It's one of our favourite channels to go to for all things film.
Darkly poetic, ritualistic patterns lyrically or sonically, hypnotic chord progressions, cavernous layering, textural sublimity. These are just some qualities we find ourselves returning to again and again in music. We've created here a mini list of songs we've been listening to that you can look into. We hope it envelopes you in today's Ambrosia theme. The Chess of the Wind is a film we plan to watch, so this isn't a review, more just a recommendation to also add it to your watch list if you haven't. It's an Iranian story about surviving family members vying for control of their matriarch's estate. Influenced by European modernism, Gothic horror, and classical Persian art, we can't wait to watch it. The Blood of a Poet explores the connection between art and dreams, tracing the artistic process through mirrors that become portals and statues that come to life. We loved how deeply it draws on esoteric symbolism, personal mythology, and surrealist explorations of the subconscious. It felt like a museum of poems. Fascination is a Gothic horror erotica film in which we meet a thief seeking refuge in a chateau inhabited by two queer female vampires. Honestly, what drew us to this film was the cover. A woman wearing a black flowing robe, brandishing a scythe. What more can one want? Beyond that, we think what we loved most was the visuals and the overall vibe, charged with sensuality and slow-burning menace, with the narrative dissolving into pure atmosphere. Moody tones, earthbound ingredients, and intoxicating flavour profiles. We have yet to make the following ourselves, but felt compelled to share the recipes we've gathered. A main favourite we want to mention is Talia Ho. Her work is often photographed in such a hauntingly beautiful way, and the recipes themselves feel like a love letter to nature, infused with wild decadence and inventive combinations.
Over the past few months, we've neglected tuning into podcasts. However, we've put together a small handful of some stuff that we did get to, whether it's discussions on Gothic or dark tales, Polish folk magic, or the significance of blood. We hope you find something here you enjoy.
We don't yet own a magazine from this company, as it's actually a very recent discovery we have stumbled upon, but it has already found its way to the top of our wish list. Not only is each issue superbly packaged and sustainably crafted, the content itself, as far as we can tell from the descriptions, is deeply fascinating. These magazines feel like vessels of philosophy, culture, mythology, art, and more, a decorative relic as much as an inspiring resource. A cultural archive, a curatorial platform of reverberation where artistic, spatial, and intellectual practices, material experimentation, and alternative narratives converge. A space for what lingers, unsettles, fractures, and refuses to disappear, as stated in the About section on the Obtuse Archive website. This is another recent discovery of ours, and in one weekend we found ourselves immersed in its depths, reading everything it has to offer. It's an intriguing space for artist conversations awash with complexity.
Thank you for listening to us yap about what has preoccupied our minds over the past few months. There was so much more we could have mentioned, but we hope you enjoyed this feast. We would love to know if you have any recommendations surrounding today's themes too. Also, thought we'd mention that we have been working away on an ebook centered around our Fashion Fusion series. It will include the ones that you are familiar with and 7 new fusions that we have not made into video form. If you would like to keep up to date with us, follow us on our Instagram by Chloe and Nicole. We can't wait for you to see it. As always, we are sending our love and we hope you have a lovely day.